Ooh. That's me being a wolf. Hi, huge movie fanatic Nate coming right back at you on this spooktacular, spooky October of 2014, continuing my fantastic, spooktacular, and horrific horror movie reviews for the October/Halloween season of 2014. And today I'm coming at you, directly at you, with a review for the movie, what the hell is the director's name? Oh well. Oh, Joe Dante. I'm coming at you with a review for the Joe Dante film, The Howling. Now I'm pretty sure this movie came out the same year as The Fog, 1980 I think, another Avco Embassy picture. I can't remember Joe Dante's first movie. I mean, I'm pretty sure that his first movie may have been Piranha, which of course is a Roger Corman produced movie. And this very well, don't quote me. I'm a huge movie fanatic, but I'm not a huge movie walking encyclopedia. But this could very well be Joe Dante's second movie. Maybe, maybe not. Whatever. At any rate, it's probably his follow-up to Piranha, I imagine. And this is a movie very much like The Fog that I actually didn't grow up with for whatever reason. I didn't see until the mid to late 90s probably, because the mid to late 90s, back in the Laserdisc era, this outfit called Image Entertainment or whatever, they put out all kinds of special editions. They did one for Phantasm, which I showed pictures of. I got a big autographed special edition of Phantasm, I think in 1995, and they did some lesser editions of things like The Fog, and with commentary, and Escape from New York, and The Howling as well. And back in the mid and late 90s, at where I was, and where you could rent Laserdiscs at Video Update, so I'd do that as opposed to buying them, and you could experience all the special stuff and the commentaries and stuff without buying the damn thing, paying which was more than Blu-rays and stuff cost now, which would be maybe $50 or something, $50 or more for one of these Image Entertainment special edition Laserdiscs. So long story short, I'd never seen The Howling until I was that would have made me what? Oh, late teens, I guess, until I was in my late teens, late teens or early 20s. And the only reason I probably saw it is because there was this brand new Laserdisc special edition of it. And I rented it, and I'm just like, this is very much a movie for me, which is ironic because it's the same studio and probably the same year as The Fog. And it's very much similar to, for me, it holds the same ranking for me as The Fog does, which is this kind of, I wouldn't consider The Howling to be as I don't know, soulless, or it's not as soulless as The Fog, but it's kind of just as random and maybe directionless, in my opinion. Obviously, I imagine there's huge Howling fans out there, and that's your right and stuff, just as much as it's my right to think not so, to not praise the movie very much. So I never really liked how it began. I rewatched it last night. I think I generally, the past 3 or 4 Octobers, I kind of just revisited it, for the last 3 or 4 years every October, just because it's I never really, watched it very much, so I thought, well, let's just revisit it. So last night I revisited The Howling again. And it's just I don't know, there's something about the beginning that never really agreed with me. It's kind of cool. I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. Part of my mind, whatever left or right side of my mind thought that's kind of cool, but then the other side is just fuck it. The beginning and stuff with the news anchor, how you're kind of just thrusted into the beginning of this whole situation, and you kind of learn on the run, as it were, midway through this sting operation or whatever, when she's mic'd and it's a police operation to catch this Eddie the Mangler or whatever, this Eddie Quist character, whom of course at this point, which is kind of cool, know the audience, or the obviously the characters in the movie know nothing about the fact that he's actually a werewolf. And I will say, it's really competently handled and kind of competently written, but I just don't respond to it in a necessarily a positive way. I guess maybe one of the reasons is because I hate the fucking ghetto city shit, and it's a ghetto city, scene in a porno store, and it's just like, ugh. Maybe that's probably one of the reasons, if not one of the biggest reasons, I don't really like the beginning of the movie. So then you have this event, and it's actually kind of creepy when, all you do is hear Eddie Quist in the porno booth box, and it's all darkening and stuff, and that weird, creepy thing he does when he's actually starting to change, but you can't see it, but you can hear it the way whatever they do, they tone down his voice or whatever, and it's like, I can't do it because they, whatever. But you know what I'm saying if you've seen the movie. So the structure of this movie never really agreed with me, Just the way it's kind of like, just seems to, it spends like, I don't know, the first 2/3 of the movie is just like leading up to, very much like a Bill Rebane movie, where the whole movie is just leading up to a payoff. And I don't really necessarily like the whole, when the whole movies lead up to a payoff, I kind of like the movies I like payoffs to happen as the movie progresses, because if the whole movie is just leading up to the payoff, you might as well just watch the payoff from then on in when you watch. I don't know. That's just my personal opinion. But then, luckily the gears changed from ghetto, city, which is LA maybe or something like that, to what I can only presume is like, again, Northern California-ish looking, spot, seashore, kind of like the fog and stuff, and looks like indoor trees and stuff. So I'm assuming, I don't know anything about it. I'm assuming it's Northern California. When they go to the colony. One thing that's cool, of course, is being a Joe Dante movie. You have your little bit parts with I'm just gonna forget his name right now, but the guy from the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers, who I think is in pretty much, I don't know, is he in every Joe Dante movie? Like, he's in Inner Space and stuff, and I think he's even in Piranha. And of course, you got the other guy. Is it Dick Miller? Is he the guy that from Little Shop of Horrors, the first one, that he's also in every Joe Dante movie? And you even got the guy who was like the lead in the original Thing from Another World, who very briefly making a cameo as a cop, which is really cool. So you got some like old faces from all kinds of, older movies that make, appearances, from 50s horror movies and stuff, and which is kind of cool, Joe Dante doing his whatever. And of course you got and goddamn, she's beautiful in this movie. Is it Dee Wallace? This is before she married whatever his name is, Mr. Stone or whatever, I think. So obviously before she took before it was Dee Wallace Stone, but she is just like, holy crap, she's really beautiful in this movie. One thing she's amazing. Her acting is amazing in this movie. And one thing I don't like about her is just like, I don't know, just the whiny kind of voice. It's very much like one of these scenarios, again, where the whole character of Dee Wallace is just like, throughout the whole movie, she experienced at the very beginning this awful event, which her mind is blocked from her memory, and then she spends basically the whole movie just trying to remember, and she's like, I can't remember, and she's got the most whiny frickin' voice, and that's kind of annoying. But you got all kinds of really kind of great character actors and stuff, like John Carradine with his unfortunate, debilitating, whatchamacallit, arthritis, but he's always great.
I still think they was UFOs. Them cattle... All right.
Keep rolling, we'll go back.
You got all kinds of people. Slim Pickens making a very short, appearance and stuff, and that one guy who, Patrick McNee or whatever his name is, from, he kind of was in the pilot of Battlestar Galactica and narrated the openings from all the other episodes, and View to a Kill, and he's one of the, he was in the British TV show The Avengers, and in Spaceship, and he was in all kinds of movies, and an all-around great character who plays, the Doc in this movie. And one thing before I forget to mention it is that I like about this movie, which perhaps they didn't really delve into enough for my taste, is the whole aspect, which is kind of interesting. This is a spoiler. Here comes the spoiler. here we go, you ready? Okay, you were warned. And basically this doc who plays for the majority of the whole movie plays, this like Dee Wallace's character's, shrink or whatever. He's basically a werewolf, and he has this colony of werewolves up in wherever, Northern California, wherever the hell it takes place. Of course, we don't know that until the very end, but the ironic thing is this guy's written a book about, I can't remember The Gift, what the book's called, The Gift, I think. And I can't remember exactly, even though I only watched it last night, what the hell the book's about. But something about just like, I can't even remember, but the movie says something about like, basically, these werewolves are trying to, based on this doc's suggestion, it's his big plan of trying to maybe suppress their werewolfness of themselves and try to find out a way, just hiding out in this colony, in this wooded area, just trying to figure out a way to actually coexist among humans. And I think it's a statement that I don't think is really embellished upon, which is a really cool idea, which is, you could do a whole movie about just that, where you have these werewolves who are, desperately trying to suppress the werewolf side of them, and which is a kind of a metaphor for just humanity in general, and just, as much as religious thinking people would like to think that, humans are so different from animals, it's really not the case. We're just animals, Which you don't have to necessarily be a werewolf for this to apply to you. It applies to all humans in general. We're basically all animals who are just trying, with societal whatever, trying to, mash down and de-animalize and neuter us, if you will, our natural animal instincts. So, long story short, it's just like, one thing before I end is obviously Rob Bottin does some amazing work, and I look at this stuff now, and of course being immersed these days with pathetic ass, shit. I suppose they do a little bit of makeup work these days, but for the most part, the majority of everything is just computer generated now. And so it's really interesting, because when you're so immersed, of course, in 2014 in computer generated, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and creatures and all this shit, and when you actually watch this movie with actual, makeup effects and, bladder and all this kind of real world physical effects, it's just like, holy shit. It's almost like, compared to computer generated shit, it's like you're seeing something real. And it's just, I gotta tell you, how old was it, 34 years old, this movie, and the transformation, all of the werewolf effects and the transformation stuff is light years above what the fuck they do now. Now it'd just be computer. And look, I can't stress how powerful the werewolf, transformation bit and just the werewolf, stuff is in this movie. It's just like, wow, before there's not one bit of computer generated werewolf in here. Ironically, the late great Dave Allen was actually hired to do some stop motion stuff, werewolf stuff, which is briefly featured in a very quick dissolve or whatever from the last bit of the colony into the city, into the last scene of the movie. But he actually animated a bit for them, the werewolves burning in the barn, which unfortunately wasn't used because it looked like stop motion animation. But so, and also I'm pretty sure that the late great Robert Burns, I think, the guy who did the production design for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, did the production design for this movie as well, or at least the bones and shit that's hanging in, was it Martha's, vineyard? That's a joke. Martha's cabin or whatever and stuff like that. And of course you can tell it's just like Texas Chainsaw Massacre production design. And then I saw in the credits that Mary Church was also involved with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I think doubled Marilyn Burns when she jumped out the window in the original Chainsaw Massacres, was a part of this production as well. So I'm going to go 2.5 stars for The Howling. I've never really responded to it. I've never really, just very much like The Fog, it's never been a movie that really invoked much of a response from me. Granted, as I watch it, one part of my mind says, this is, parts of this are very wonderfully conceived and executed. And I like Joe Dante. I think that he was talented, and when it was a a talented filmmaker and stuff. It's just it should be mentioned also before I forget that Pino Donaggio or Pino Donaggio or however the hell you say his fucking last name did the score for this movie. I love that guy who, of course, scored one of my favorite movies or horror movies, Tourist Trap, and all kinds of Brian De Palma movies and stuff. And unfortunately for me, it's weird that the score of this movie is very much like Dee Wallace, where the score is kind of whiny to me. It's just the themes I don't necessarily. I don't know. The violins are so high pitched. It's all like, I don't know. So it's one of my lesser favorite Pino Donaggio or Donaggio or whatever the fuck his last name, however you pronounce his last name. It's one of my least favorite scores of his. But Dee Wallace is like beautiful in this movie, and her soon-to-be husband. I can't remember his first name. But anyway, something Stone. A lot of great character actors, and it takes so long for it to get going, and when it does get going, it's kind of like, oh, that's it. I don't know. There's something about the Howling that never agreed with me, so maybe we'll leave it at that because I don't want to go too long. I probably already did. That's the nature of the beast. I don't think I've really seen. I mean, I have like Howling 3 or something like that. I don't think I've seen 2. I mean, when the first one really doesn't do anything for you, you don't really search out the sequels. I know that there's probably at least 5 or 6 by now or something like that, but I don't really give a shit. So there you go. I think I pretty much covered it. 2.5 stars. It is, I believe, on Blu-ray courtesy of Scream Factory as well. If for any of you people who, of course, if you're a fan, you probably already know that. But for any of you people who want this on Blu-ray, I believe it's on Blu-ray. I just have a DVD, which will, of course, be fine for me because I don't really watch it very often. So thank you very much for watching this review of the Howling. And as always, I'll catch you on the next spooktacular movie review.